Hello folks, and welcome to the very first episode of my fighting game training that has been titled The Path of the Online Warrior, or My Road to EVO. Now, a lot of y'all may be curious about what this exactly means. As games have progressed throughout the years, it has become a lot more mainstream, even to the point of having their own major league. Most of y'all would know what I'm referring to in the gaming world as Major League Gaming. They handle things like Call of Duty, Halo, StarCraft, I believe is one of them. But MLG, funny enough, they don't really support the fighting game community. So the fighting game community kind of took it upon themselves to get noticed and make this like a mainstream sport. Like if you were to turn on ESPN, you would see footage of a fighting game tournament. This is what I'm trying to do. Throw my hat into the pro fighting ring and possibly make a name for myself doing so. Some people may think that it's a waste of time or it's not very beneficial, but let me tell you this. The ones that are good enough, that go to these tournaments, win these tournaments, even not win, just place, like in the finals and stuff like that. Most of these people walk away with some form of cash prize. One of the most notable ones I can mention is Justin Wong, who is one of the more well-known professional fighters. Did a Mortal Kombat tournament, I don't remember when, but he won the whole thing and walked out of there with $50,000. So you can't really argue with something like that. Now, most fighters would focus on one game, and that's essentially what they would practice. I am traveling a much steeper path, being that I am going to be training in several games. Some of those games would be Tekken 6, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, Mortal Kombat, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and one of the newest released fighters, The King of Fighters 13. Now, a lot of these games have been out for a while, and are usually on their, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th version of the game. Street Fighter 4 itself has had 3 different versions of the game. It's had Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4, and Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. Each time tweaking the gameplay to try and make people more balanced while adding new characters and new game modes. Marvel also tried to do this, but wasn't exactly as efficient in it as Street Fighter was. With Street Fighter, if you had already bought the game, no problem. You could get the new edition as a DLC. Or if you never bought the game, you could buy the full version of what would have been DLC on a disc for a discounted price. Marvel released version 1, which was Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and then released another version not even a year later as a standalone disc-based game, not using the DLC at all. Now, throughout the course of the week, a different day, I'll be training on a different game. Monday, I've pretty much stapled for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Tuesday would be King of Fighters 13. Wednesday, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. Thursday, Tekken 6. And then Friday, ultimately, would be Mortal Kombat. And then, I actually forgot to mention a game. I'm also going to be competing in Blaze Blue Continuum Shift, which is a more lesser-known game. Anyone that's been a fan of the Guilty Gear series usually knows about Blaze Blue because they're very similar to each other. That game I would be training on Sundays. Now, the big problem that I've been having with this training is finding adequate practice, having the time to practice, and people to practice with. Most people would think that the fact that these games can go online and you can fight people all over the world would be one of the best training partners that you could possibly have, and that's just essentially not true. On these games, a lot of the net coding, which is what helps the online feature run, is sometimes so bad, and the connections between two different opponents could be so different, that a stable match is just damn near impossible to find. Now, games that most notably have this problem would be Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters. Occasionally you'll have that problem with Street Fighter. The biggest problem out of all of them would definitely be BlazBlue. Marvel doesn't seem to really have that problem, and Street Fighter and Tekken don't seem to have a huge issue, even though all of them will experience it from time to time. The best way to train with these fighting games is to fight live people. Now, with me working all the time and funding being a little short at this moment, because it is the holiday season, so money has been put elsewhere for other things, it's very difficult for me to get out and find live people that I can play with. So a lot of the times I really have to resort to fighting online. Now with Marvel, it's really a mixed bag. I win some, I lose some. It's about 50-50 right now. With more training and more dedication to it, my win-loss record will probably greatly improve to where the original Marvel vs. Capcom 3 win-loss record was, if not better. Tekken, I have never really had a problem with Tekken. It's just a matter of finding those people that are better than me and being able to train with them. Fighting online, I mean, I have no problem winning with that. Mortal Kombat was kind of the same thing until the net coding got so very, very bad. A lot of the things that I would do against live opponents, I can't do with online opponents because the net coding would hinder things. So normal combos that I practice over and over and over again, I would essentially not be able to do them because the delay between me inputting the button and the character executing the command would be so vast that the combo would be dropped almost immediately. Now, with it being Tuesday, I started training on King of Fighters 13, which it's an absolutely beautiful game. Runs very smoothly until you get online. For the most part, your matches will be more or less stable, but you will still see a lag in your input. And that will really hinder you on things, especially when you're trying to improve as a fighter. Now, it shames me to say it, but I must have fought 20 to 25 matches tonight, and I didn't win a single one of them. And that's really disheartening for me to say. And one of the big problems with the King of Fighters that I have is one of the same problems that I had with Super Street Fighter. You need to know a certain rhythm of how these characters move and how to input the buttons. Like there's a certain dance to it, and I haven't quite figured that out yet, to where how the timing should go on me hitting those buttons in order to make the character execute what I want them to execute. And this could be anything from a simple evade, where I would tumble out of the way, or executing a more advanced type combo, where I would come in, do a combination, and then finish with a special or a super move. Both these games I really seem to have this problem with. And looking online as long as I did to not really be able to find anything to help me, that was even more disheartening. So I really find myself stumped on how to continue my training with these two games. So, I mean, it's not really a good thing to announce my weaknesses to people that may be watching, that I may be fighting in the future. But if I don't address the weaknesses I have, how am I ever going to improve them? That's always going to be one of the big cases. With Marvel, I've pretty much got that rhythm down. The same with Tekken, the same with Mortal Kombat. It's just a matter of having a match stable enough in order to abide by that rhythm. I guess one of the bigger things, as far as my training goes, would be figuring out which tool to use. Which, the best example I can give with that is simply this. do you use the standard controller, which any console owner would have, or do you get more advanced with it and use a fight stick? Now, this fight stick, this is the Mad Catz Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Tournament Edition arcade stick. This will run you about $120 with all the authentic Japanese arcade parts that are really the best of the best when it comes to arcade pieces. I am very happy with this purchase. It's the only thing that really hinders me on it is the fact that while arcades did exist when I was growing up, I didn't really revolve around them, or if I was there, I certainly didn't always gravitate to the fighting games, because usually where I was, the crowd was too big, or I was too young fighting people that have already been playing it religiously, and I just didn't stand a chance against them. A 10, 11-year-old going up against a 20-something-year-old that has already got all the characters memorized, you don't really have much of a chance. So, when using a stick, you're using the motion of your entire left hand, wrist and all. And that's something I haven't really gotten a hang of yet. Me growing up with consoles as a child, I've always been very accustomed to using my thumb. And this feels more natural, but I can see how in a fighting game, it can hold you back. Because with a fight stick, you're able to, your hand is actually able to dance, like that rhythm I was speaking of, dance across the keypad. So you have more fingers available to hit more buttons at once, because some combinations require you to hit more than one button. With a controller, you're not really able to do that. You're kind of restricted by how fast can your thumb move. And I mean, you can kind of move it like this, but that feels very awkward. So I don't really do that often. And I'm kind of split, because on some games I'll use the joystick, and on other games I'll use the controller. On controller, I will play Ultimate Marvel, Tekken 6, and Mortal Kombat. And then on King of Fighters and Street Fighter, and sometimes BlazBlue as well. I believe I use BlazBlue. I use controller on that as well. On Street Fighter and King of Fighters, I'll use the joystick, because the motion feels a lot more fluid. And with games like that require a lot more precision, you need to be able to input things faster. You can't just float the moves, kind of like how you can do in Marvel, even though they're trying to make it more precise as well. So the best thing I can really say for myself is just I need to figure out which tool is best for me, and then just find a way to find people to train with and all that sort of good stuff. So what I'm going to be doing with this show is chronologizing my progress on how I'm doing, what I can improve on, and I will also be recapping any gatherings I go to, for whether it be for casuals or small tournaments, and any bigger tournaments that I'll be attending as well. And also anyone that feels they can put their input in order to help my training, or there is some oddball way I can help you in your training, feel free to leave comments. And if you're within driving distance, I'm sure we can eventually set up something in order to meet in person and actually train together. But until then, I'm just going to have to keep playing. Thank you for watching.